mystery and spine-chilling whispers. Since the 1970s, stories of this eerie figure have crept through the town, haunting those who hear them. They say he moves like a ghost, a filthy, gaunt figure with wild eyes that gleam with something both human and unearthly. His hands, calloused and dirt-streaked, reach out to catch his prey, rats, which he devours with chilling primal hunger, blood staining his fingers and lips. But it's not only his taste for rats that stirs terror. The legend claims he lives among wild cats, moving silently alongside them as though he were one of their own. The cats accept him, even protect him, slinking through the shadows as his ghostly guardians. Locals swear that on quiet nights, you can see him crouched low, his face barely visible in the dim light, with wild cats prowling around him in a tight, watchful circle. Rumors say that if you lock eyes with the Catman, you'll feel an unnatural chill, as if he's peering into your soul. Some claim he was once a normal man, driven mad and feral by a life of solitude, or perhaps a restless spirit bound to Greenwich streets. Many who have dared to approach him in those dark alleyways have quickly turned back, too shaken by his hollow gaze, feeling the weight of something ancient and unbroken. To this day, people pass the alleys of Greenwich with hushed steps, casting wary glances into the darkness, knowing the Catman might be watching, his eyes glinting in the night, waiting, forever lingering in the shadows, more ghost than man, bound to the darkness alongside his feline companions. In the dimly lit chambers of Spanish folklore lies a chilling legend about the Castilian lisp, a haunting echo that whispers through the language itself. According to the tale centuries ago, there was a Spanish king whose tongue bore a strange affliction. His speech was marked by an unnatural lisp, a soft but chilling hiss that crept into every word, bending the sounds like twisted vines. This was no ordinary speech impediment. Many believed it was a curse, some ancient hex upon the royal bloodline. The legend says that the king's court, fearful of invoking his wrath, began to mimic his lisping speech, imitating the soft, eerie sounds that dripped from his lips like poison. They say the lisp spread like an infection, starting with the nobles, then seeping into the commoners' tongues, and finally swallowing the entire land. It became known as the Castilian lisp, a language haunted by a ghostly sound, forever marking Spanish speech with the king's cursed voice. But there are darker layers to the tale. Some say that those who refused to mimic the king's speech met a horrifying end, found with throats slit, their final words etched in blood. Shadows of resistance were snuffed out like candles, until all that remained was the unnatural lisp echoing through Spain. To this day, twisting alleys of old Spanish towns. People claim to hear it. Late at night, when the streets are silent and the air grows cold, you might catch a ghostly hiss, the faint chilling echo of a sound long forgotten but never gone. Some say it's the king himself, his spirit lingering, enforcing his cursed speech on the living. Others believe that the lisp is a specter in the language, an ancient whisper that slips from the mouth of those who speak it, bound to a promise no one remembers making. So, when you hear the peculiar sound of the Castilian lisp, listen closely, for you might just hear a voice from beyond, a phantom king, still whispering, still lingering, haunting the language of his people with every breath.
They say it happened on a calm, clear afternoon. An unsuspecting scuba diver plunging into the depths of a peaceful lake, unaware of the nightmare lurking above. As he drifted beneath the surface, an aerial water bomber, a monstrous helicopter carrying a massive bucket, descended over the lake, ready to scoop up gallons of water for the raging wildfire miles away. The diver never saw it coming. In a single moment, his tranquil underwater world turned into a chaotic torrent. The water bomber's bucket plunged down, capturing not only the lake's water, but also the diver, pulling him skyward with a force so brutal he was stripped of breath and bearings. He was yanked into the open air, disoriented, tangled within a swirling mass of water that blinded and suffocated. Some say his screams were drowned out by the chopper's roar. Carried for miles, helpless, he was finally dumped, along with the payload, over the inferno. Firefighters on the ground watched in horror as not just water, but a twisted figure fell from the sky, crashing onto the burning earth. A scuba diver in full gear, limbs contorted in a final futile attempt at escape. The myth has been debunked, dismissed as impossible, a dark tale born from the fevered imaginations of those looking for thrills. But those who fight fires in the wild will still glance up nervously when the bomber passes overhead, haunted by the thought of what might be lurking unseen in that churning mass of water, a fleeting echo of a nightmare that might just be real. call it Alexandria's genesis, a mutation whispered about on dark corners of the internet, a genetic gift or perhaps a curse that transforms its carriers into something almost beyond human. Those with this mutation are said to possess eyes of an unnatural shade, a deep, almost glowing violet that seems to pierce through your very soul. These eyes are not merely beautiful, they hold an ancient knowledge, something that feels off, something that hints at a reality beyond what we understand. The carrier's skin is pale, almost shimmering, as if reflecting moonlight, and they lack the imperfections of humanity. No body hairs, no aging spots, nothing but flawless, smooth skin that remains untouched by time. For women, there is no menstruation, but they remain fertile, a cruel and paradoxical defiance of the natural world. It's said that those who have seen them can't shake the feeling that there is something distinctly cold about their presence, a detachment from the world that makes them seem almost spectral. There are those who claim to have met someone with Alexandria's genesis. They describe encounters with people who seem ageless, their eyes too intense, their manner too calm, as if they were only pretending to be human. Rumors say they live for centuries, watching silently as the world changes around them, untouched by the march of time, their violet eyes betraying no hint of emotion. The real fear is in the unknown, what they want, why they hide, and how many there are. When you stare into their violet eyes, you might feel it, the unsettling sensation that you're not looking at a person, but at something else entirely, something that sees you as no more than a brief flicker in the eternity they have already seen and will continue to witness.
In the dense, eerie woods of Robertson County, Tennessee, the haunting legend of the Bell Witch continues to send chills down the spines of locals. The story began in 1817, when farmer John Bell Sr. and his family became targets of an unseen, malevolent force that seemed born of pure malice. They called it the Witch, and soon the whole town would tremble at her name. The haunting began with strange knocks and scratches echoing through the walls of the Bell home, sounds that grew louder, angrier with each passing night. Shadows twisted on the walls as if mocking the family, and disembodied whispers called out their names, echoing in the pitch-black darkness. But this was no mere ghostly nuisance. The Bell Witch possessed a terrifying intelligence. She could speak, cackling threats in a chilling voice, promising that her revenge was only beginning. The witch delighted in tormenting the Bell children, pulling their hair, pinching them, even slapping them with invisible hands. The air around the farm became thick and oppressive, as though her very presence suffocated life itself. She claimed she had a personal vendetta against John Bell and vowed to destroy him, leaving him sleepless and frail, his mind haunted by her endless taunts. Neighbours and townsfolk witnessed the witch's powers firsthand. Objects moved on their own, and her voice filled the air, sometimes screaming, sometimes laughing with a twisted joy. She could appear in any form she wished, a shapeshifter of pure darkness. In 1821, was found dead, his face twisted in horror, and a vial of strange, black liquid beside him. The witch claimed victory, declaring that she had poisoned him. Her laughter echoed through the empty halls of the Bell home, a final warning to any who might doubt her power. To this day, the spirit of the Bell Witch is said to haunt the land, her wrathful spirit lingering, waiting in silence for her next victim. In the shadowed expanse of Druid Ridge Cemetery in Pikesville, Maryland, a cold, dark statue loomed, a spectral figure known as Black Aggie. This life-sized, cloaked woman, with her face veiled in shadow, sat atop the grave of General Felix Agnes, her granite form exuding a chilling, otherworldly aura. By day, she appeared merely sombre and brooding, but as night fell, the true horror of Black Aggie was said to awaken. Legend tells that Aggie's eyes glowed red after midnight, casting an eerie light over the tombstones, watching anyone foolish enough to linger after dark. Locals swore that the air around her turned deathly cold at night, as though she was drawing warmth and life into herself. Whispers echoed through the town that those who dared meet her gaze would be haunted, plagued by nightmares so vivid they left physical marks, scratches, bruises, inexplicable chills that never went away. Daring teens tested the legend, sneaking into the cemetery to touch Black Aggie's cold, stone feet, but few made it close without recoiling. Those who reached out to touch her swore they felt Aggie's granite hands shift, her fingers stretching toward them, or the faint press of invisible hands gripping their shoulders, holding them in place. One night, a young man dared to spend the night under Aggie's watchful stare. At dawn, he was found frozen in terror, his face twisted in a silent scream. Rumours claimed that Aggie had drawn the life from him, leaving him nothing but a hollow shell. Today, Black Aggie is gone, removed from Druid Ridge Cemetery, but those who remember her say that if you wander near her former resting place on a moonless night, you might still feel her icy stare, hear the whisper of her stone skirts brushing against